You're scrolling, drifting through the endless static of the algorithm, waiting for the signal to cut through the noise. Consider, if you will, that you just found the frequency. You've just stepped off the timeline of the everyday, into the space where the forgotten history and the hidden truths finally touch down. There's the story you know, and then there's the airspace we're about to enter. Check your coordinates, because you're heading towards the landing point.
Welcome back, friends. Today's story. Only 15. She was simply 15 years old. A high school student, a teenager who liked to hang out with her friends, worry about her grades, and dream of the future. It was a breezy afternoon in March. School had just let out, and our young lady and her friends boarded the city bus to head home. They paid their dime and walked towards the back, taking their seats in the middle of the bus, the section designated by law for people of her color. As the bus rolled down the avenue, more passengers got on. The front row filled up. Soon, a white woman boarded and found nowhere to sit. The bus driver looked through the rearview mirror. He called out, telling the teenager and her friends to get up and move back further, to stand in the aisle so the woman could sit. Her friends complied. They quietly got up and moved, but our 15-year-old stayed put. She had just written a school paper on the local injustice of the Jim Crow laws. She had been learning about Harriet Tubman and the souvenir truth. She would later say it felt as though Harriet was pushing down on one shoulder, and the souvenir was pushing down on the other. She couldn't move. She wouldn't move. The driver stopped the bus. He called the police. 2 officers boarded. They knocked her school books out of her hands. They grabbed her arm, dragged her off the bus, and threw her into the back of the squad car. A 15-year-old girl, crying and terrified, was locked in adult jail. Now you know the history of the civil rights movement. You know the solitary act of defiance on a segregated bus sparked a citywide boycott, a Supreme Court decision, and a national revolution. But wait, the leaders of her community, distinguished men, including a young, charismatic preacher, rushed to her aid. They bailed her out. They met in secret, discussing whether this brave young teenager should be the face of a movement, a test case to take all the way to the high courts. But they decided against it. You see, the leaders felt she wasn't the right kind of symbol. She was a working class kid. She was deemed too emotional, too fiery. And shortly after her arrest, she became pregnant and out of wedlock. The leaders feared the conservative media would tear her apart. They needed a symbol who was unimpeachable, someone old, someone quieter, someone middle class. So they asked her to step aside, and they waited. They waited 9 months. 9 months later, on the exact same bus line, another woman refused to give up her seat. This woman was 42, a dignified seamstress, the secretary of the local NAACP. When she was arrested, the leaders knew they had the perfect symbol. The boycott began. History was made. But what history often forgets is that when the boycott wasn't enough, it was a federal lawsuit that finally shattered the bus segregation laws. And one of the 4 star witnesses who bravely took the stand in that courtroom was the teenage girl. The dignified seamstress who became an international icon was Rosa Parks. But that brave 15-year-old schoolgirl who sat down for her rights 9 months before the world was ready to pay attention is Claudette Colvin. And whether you realize it or not, this is the landing point.
Viewers, thank you for watching today, The Landing Point. We really appreciate it. I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Roadrunner Real Estate. They are a full-service real estate company doing both commercial and residential real estate. They can help you buy, sell, or even lease your properties. So if you're in the market looking for a real estate company, please go out and give them a call. They'll happily help you today. The next thing I'd like to talk about is our social media. Obviously, we have YouTube if you're watching that today. If you haven't done so already, please go out and subscribe. It is completely free to you. There's nothing that you'll be charged or your membership fees, but it does help us out so we can get our latest episodes to you quickly, and you can find out what's going on with YouTube. Our other place that we do a lot of our social media is on our Facebook page, The Landing Point. So please go out and like and subscribe or follow those, I guess I would say, so you get the latest updates. If you're a person that likes to listen to stories as you're out on the drive, we have our podcast. You can find The Landing Point out there, and it can be on most services. So once again, thank you for watching The Landing Point, and we look forward to see you on our next story.